Now in this lecture, let's see how this host header injection attack works. So first of all you need to do is simply make your target to crawl from here. Just press new scan, it will just get here, and you have a target in the sitemap, and I want to just attack this website over here. So let's see what this has. So first of all you need to do is simply search for those websites over here which has the status code that starts with 2 or 3. So if it has 2 or 3, then it is valid. If it has something like 404, it is not going to work. So first of all, just see about this status code. It should start from 2. That can be anything, something like, let me simply run the Sublime. So it should start from something like 2xx, or it can be 3xx. So xx means here any number. So over here you could see that we have 200 and only the 200. So we'll just start with this simple URL over here, that is get method. So let me just send this to repeater as always. So let's go to the repeater. You could see we have this host parameter right here. So we have already said that the application that can be the host application is just hosted in the same IP address. That means we have this host parameter over here. So we'll just attack this host parameter now. So instead of this real website, we'll just see if this has any host header injection or not. So I'll just simply give open URL redirection, that is to twitter.com. We'll just see if this redirects to twitter.com or not. So let me just press go. Then you could see it has not been redirected, but you can simply do something like show response to the browser. Go to your browser and just press here. So let me see, I think I have not made the configuration. So instead of going to bing.com, it has redirect to the original website. That means this does not have the redirection. So let's see first. So I'm on the manual proxy because it won't work if it was not here. So we have not the URL redirection over here. So let's go back to Burp Suite again. So now we'll just pass any arbitrary next parameter over here, which is the x. First see the convention over here. So x should be in the uppercase and forwarded. This should be the convention. It is smaller over here. You could see after the host we just pass your own arbitrary argument over here, or a parameter. It should be host. So now we'll just pass again twitter.com. It should be twitter.com. And now instead of this twitter.com, which was the original, basically what we just replaced with, it should be the original website. So let me just go over here, and it is this website. So let me just copy this, go back, and let me just paste this down over here. So this is our host and this is our x forwarded host. So let's see if this works or not. So let's press go, and you could see it is showing 0400 bad request or something like that. So let me just remove this HTTPS and see what this works or not. So let me just press go again. It should show same message, that is a bad request. So it is not working. You can simply see response in the browser, and it is showing 400 bad requests. That is, this does not have the host header injection. That means it is not allowed over here. So you can simply toggle this value. So instead of this here, you can simply pass this one, that is basically this platform, the original website. So let me just copy this, and instead of the twitter.com, you can simply pass here the original website. So in the host we'll simply pass here twitter.com. so it can be bing.com. So let me just show something like bing.com, and let's see if this works or not. Simply press go. It should show something like this again. So let's see the response to the browser. You can simply see it is not working by there too. It is simply redirecting to platform.innovation.nokia.com. so that means it is not working. So host header injection attack is not working over here. So you could simply see that it is not working. So that means this website does not have any injection. So let's see for another website now. So let's see, let me just get the another website. Let me say this website. So let me just copy this. You can simply get the URL from the description, so in the resource section maybe. So let me go to the dashboard again. Let me just scan. I think I have already scanned, but let me see to the target. Okay, I have not, so it is right here. So you could see we are just gathering some of these URL maybe. So here in the first URL you have something that is the status code, and I have already said you we need to see the status code of 200 or 300, or basically starts with 300 or 3. And now let me just send this to the repeater. Let's go over here, and instead of host we simply pass here bing.com or any website you want. So I'll simply say bing.com. Let me just press go over here, and let's see if this Bing is reflected or not, because we want to simply see if this Bing has any reflection or not, like we did in the case of XSS. We simply change the parameter value and we simply see over here if that parameter reflects on the web page or not. So in this case you can simply see we have just passed bing.com over here. It has reflected in this anchor tag. If you see here, it has reflected in this anchor tag named Netherlands. So it has host header injection attack, which is web caching. So let me see the response in the browser. Let's go over here, let's paste it here, and you could wonder that we have no redirection. This is the original website and this is the website that we just made pass, but it was on the same website. That means, is it the case that it doesn't have host error injection attack? But it has, because in the burp suite it has reflected in the Netherlands. So we must go in this Netherlands, which is right down here at the bottom, and if I simply make some basically hover to this Netherlands, then you could see we have the shortened link at the left hand side corner saying bing.com. So if I just press this Netherlands, you will see it will be redirect to bing.com. So instead of Bing, let's go over here and let's see for another website. Let me see for Twitter, or it can be any malicious website you can put over here. So let me just press go again. Let me see the response in the browser. Let me just press paste and go over here. It will be on the same website, but in this Netherlands it will be twitter.com. So when I just press, it should redirect you to twitter.com. So this has host header injection attack, but this has something that is web cache poisoning. That means you are just injecting, that is a open URL redirection to some of the element of the HTML. So it is inside the element that is anchor tag, which has the name as Netherlands. So if you just remember how we just made something that is the XSS payload. So if you just remember, while just cracking for the XSS attacks, or basically while searching or hunting for the XSS, we simply make the payload. First of all, we'll simply say something like script, and we'll just I'll just say script alert, and I'll just pass 1 as usual, and I'll say script again, so it should close, right? Okay, what is happening? It should be close script. So this is used to be our script. So when I just copy this and just go back to our burp, and if I just paste right here, then you could see anything you just passed is just inserted inside here, that is over here in the anchor tag. If you see that the twitter.com was reflected in this anchor tag, and we just see in the XSS vulnerability, or in the XSS couple of lectures before, that if you want to inject some of the script, it should not be inside these HTML elements. It should be basically it should be out of this anchor tag. That means we have to first close our anchor tag as usual. So I have to make my payload again with, first of all, closing this href attribute, and after that I have to close my anchor tag, and then we'll just run our script. So let's see if this works or not. So if I just copy this, and if I just paste again after this twitter.com, so let me simply, what is happening? Let me just paste it over here. Then now let me say go. Let me just show response in the browser, and let me just paste and go. you should see the alert message of 1, but it is not showing. What if I just press over here? I think payload is not working. Okay, let's see. Let's go over here again to the burp suite. We just close. Let's see where the Twitter was reflected, but they have now made something that is the encoding over here. That means this is not valid. Now you have to make other payloads, because this payload has not been valid. They have now encoded over here. So if you see right down here, it was not encoded a couple of days before when I just tested, but now they have encoded. Maybe someone has reported this. So you could see that this is the encoding. Basically they have encoded all the script tags so that it will be included inside this href, because this quotation has been encoded here so that it will be included in the href. That means we have no run of this XSS attack, because the XSS attack is the dangerous attack and they have already reported this one. So that means this is not working, but you can simply do something like, you can simply pass here, that is another payload. So you can simply, instead of twitter.com, you can simply add something like, okay, first you can simply send this to the intruder, go to the intruder, positions, and you can just pass here something, let me say test. So I'll just say test, and I'll just select this test, make add here, that is selecting this add button, go to the payload and load all of your payload. So it should be XSS payload, and this is your all payload, and simply start the attack. Okay, this is the case, so you are not allowed, so that is the case. Okay, we'll just stick to the basic then. We'll simply go to the new URL or new, send this to the repeater, and again we'll just test for the host header, because the host header can't simply inject the payload. So that is the case. So we'll just say something like bing.com again, and let's see if this reflects or not. So if I just press go, and if I say bing again, so it is also reflected in the same Netherlands tag, and they have already, basically they have already encoded that. That means we do not have any chance to run our script over here, because host will take some domain and after that you can simply run your payload. But in this case it is not the case. So you can simply do something like put the test and slash something, and you can simply go to the intruder, load your payload, but here it has already been encoded. But in the next lecture we'll see how to just run your payload, or let's see how this host header injection attack. So you can also do something like x forwarded. So it is useless because we have already got the host header injection, but you can simply do the arbitrary method too, that is x forwarded host. So here you can simply pass again bing.com and make sure that this host would be your original, basically this original website. So let's go over here, and this was basically your original website. Let me just copy it, let me just paste it over here. So if I just press go again, and let's see how this works. So response in the browser, paste and go. Let's see in the Netherlands. So it is not working with the x forwarded host, but it's okay because we have already saw how this works with here with this host header injection, because we just simply pass here bing.com or something that, and it has a redirection in this element which is web caching or web poisoning, web cache poisoning maybe. So this is the way, just host header injection attack. We'll see a couple of more example in the upcoming lecture, but you can simply do something like in other website which can be the real testing website, where you can just hunt for the XSS attack. You can simply do something like open URL redirection over here in this host and make use of payload and see if that payload works or not, because that would be your two type of attack. One would be host header attack, second would be your XSS attack, and again there would be also your URL redirection, which is open URL redirection, which will be the most vulnerable, and basically they will pay mostly in the case of open URL redirection. So this will be wrap for this lecture. In the upcoming lecture we'll see in the one more live website, and we'll see how this works on another website. So see you in the next one.